Senator Wyden.
Thank you, Senator Warren, and I want to thank you and Senator Cassidy for getting into these issues. Senator Cassidy just mentioned the modern car. The modern car is a computer on wheels, and I have been investigating now for years as chairman of this committee the sleazy, unregulated world of these data brokers. And in several instances, we blew the whistle on government agencies that were too eager consumers for this information, and we pushed Apple and Google to finally get some of the sleaziest data brokers out of their stores and out of their businesses. And I'm glad we're making progress, but we've got a lot more out to do. And I want to start with you, Mr. Sherman. You made an important point with respect to how foreign governments can acquire Americans' data to run disinformation campaigns, identify undercover government personnel, blackmail government employees. And I have been working on legislation for some time now to deal with this threat. The bill will be introduced shortly. My first question to you, Mr. Sherman, is do you agree that Congress should enact legislation to strictly limit the exports of Americans' personal data to high-risk foreign nations and companies to address what is, in my view, a demonstrable national security threat?
There is a huge national security threat here, and Congress does need to control the sale of data to foreign companies, citizens, governments, as you referenced. It's all too easy to get that on the open market.
Very good. Ms. Gray, we've also been looking at this whole issue of how U.S. government agencies bypass the courts by buying Americans' data from data brokers. And so I've introduced bipartisan legislation. The Fourth Amendment is not for sale to close these loopholes. Do you agree that the government's exploitation of these loopholes is a serious problem? And do you agree that Congress ought to close these ever yawning loopholes by passing our legislation?
Absolutely, Senator. The Fourth Amendment is not for sale act is a very strong model. It's exactly what's needed right now.
And tell us, if you would, how this connects with privacy, issues, because I have also introduced another piece of legislation, the Mind Your Own Business, Act. And had that become law, I'm of the view Mr. Zuckerberg would have already faced major sanctions for behavior connected with privacy violations. But how does this whole area connect with privacy? Because on the Finance Committee, we're increasingly looking at privacy, issues. For example, we feel very strongly that wealthy tax cheats, who right now are about as likely to get audited by the government as getting hit by a meteor, we got to do more to root out that corruption. But we can do it in a way that is consistent with protecting people's privacy. I'm a privacy hawk. I'll put my privacy credentials up against anybody in the United States Senate. But tell us how this whole field connects with the broader expanse of making sure that we protect people's privacy.
Sure. Well, one of the issues is the sheer scale and volume in the modern commercial data ecosystem, and it's becoming increasingly untenable, I think, to separate the related fields of law enforcement and national security uses of data and commercial collection and uses of data that originates for a particular purpose and ends up being used for secondary purposes and being used by government agencies.
It's striking because I'm also on the Intelligence Committee, and I've come to the conclusion that privacy is a massive economic and national security issue. And you can't just separate these all out into separate boxes. This question of economics and national security and privacy are directly linked. I want to thank all of you for your good work. I appreciate Senator Cassidy's interest in this. Senator Warren has been a longtime leader of making sure that we hold these major economic forces in our country, our largest companies, accountable. And by the way, I was just in Oregon and people are asking me about these issues. Being successful and ensuring that there's accountability aren't mutually exclusive. We can do both. Of course we want our businesses to do well. Of course we want them to be profitable, but they can also be accountable on key American values like protecting people's privacy. And I want everybody to know, and I'm so pleased that Senator Warren has given us this chance. These sleazy, unregulated data brokers, I want to put them on notice today. We are going to stay at it until there are serious consumer protections, whether it's the Fourth Amendment is not for sale or other kinds of measures. There's going to be accountability in this field. Thank you, Senator Warren.